Well, we're starting off early with game number 2 because game 1, it was a pretty quick one. We got a chance to reset, but now it's time to get back into the action. W7M versus Santos. Ollie, how you feeling about this one?
Well, yesterday we saw W7M struggle against Liquid. We saw Santos do relatively well against Team 1. As the course of the season has gone, W7M haven't played too terribly. They managed to take Team 1 to an overtime back in Playday number 1 as well. So there is potential here for this one. I think it's going to be two very equally matched teams, and I wouldn't be surprised to see this one be a lot closer than the last.
Yeah, I think a close match is kind of the theme for the night with a lot of the games. Gio, looking into this, let's just get into the map veto nice and early. One thing I want to talk about is Santos and how it feels for a lot of their games. They've been executing far too late for a lot of people's liking. Do you think that they're going to lean into any specific maps so that they can continue with that play style? Or do you think we're just going to see them go with what they usually do, you know, a pretty bog standard map in the vetoes?
I mean, the speed of their engagements has improved over the course of the stage, so there is certainly that. But yesterday, I think they looked a little bit lost on their defenses, especially, you know, when they were playing on Coastline. So I don't expect them to want to go back to Coastline. Santos, statistically, they've been doing best on Oregon, and actually that was a map that we saw W7M play quite well on as well. So I'm wondering if they're going to leave that one in, or if they'll look to play more to what they see as W7M's weaknesses, right? Santos are definitely a team that can frag out, but as I say, Coastline, I was expecting that to be taken out. Consular would have been the next guess. So if they want to go for frag heavy, yeah, there we go. Back, it came down to Oregon and Chalet. So it's an interesting one because, I mean, obviously we've just had Chalet today, but Santos haven't played Chalet in the last in the last few months, and W7M played it once and lost.
Yep,
so
it's going to be interesting to see how this map unfolds, but another thing I find extremely interesting is this intro video explaining what to look forward to in this match, so don't go anywhere, take some notes. We'll see you in a minute.
The W7 machine seems to be missing a few gears as they find themselves struggling to get off the bottom of the board. As time runs out, the window for errors is narrowing ever more. Today, however, there is hope, as they come up against Santos, a team they managed to defeat during the first stage 7-4.
A W7M foi o nosso primeiro jogo. Como a gente é o time mais recente do cenário, eu creio que a gente não conseguiu passar o que a gente tem hoje, por exemplo, de trabalho. A gente poderia ter sido melhor, esse é o ponto.
O confronto contra o Santos no primeiro turno foi um jogo que era para ter sido um pouco mais tranquilo, até surpreender em alguns rounds. E como era uma line muito nova, uma line que não tinha muita experiência, tirando assim esses empecilhos em alguns rounds, foi de boa, a gente errou bastante também.
And mistakes are just what need to be avoided if either team wants to dig themselves out of the hole that they find themselves in. Santos and W7M are both in a similar situation, with the two teams still trying to find their feet and make an impact in the BR6. At the end of the day, one of the two will be able to put an ever-important win on the board.
Contra a W7M hoje, acho que o jogo virou. A gente é um time com mais tempo, eles têm contratação nova. O que eles tiveram de bônus no primeiro split, a gente tem que trazer hoje, que é a vitória.
O jogo de hoje contra o Santos vai ser de boa, vai ser tranquilo. Não vamos ter muita dificuldade não, vamos entrar aí e vamos ganhar, amassar o cara.
It's do or die for both teams as they look to turn their tide within the BR6. Will W7M repeat their Stage 1 result and push Santos ever further down the board? Or will Santos get that sweet, sweet revenge? Find out next.
Now, look, we spoke a little about Santos, but I think we should also talk about W7M for a second, because this is a team that only have one win so far, but it feels like they've shown real promise, especially looking at yesterday when they took it the distance up against Liquid. Ollie, do you think that they could finally get that second win that they're just so desperate for right now?
There is a chance in this game that W7M are going to be able to come out with a win. I think they've looked like a team that's had a win in them. You know, we think back to Playday number 4 when they played against MIBR, and that went all the way to overtime and was essentially decided by 1 round as we went to all 15 rounds available. For me, we've maybe not seen enough from them just yet to make a full sort of judgment on that, because obviously they are playing with Mav now. They have switched up the lineup a little bit, so they're still looking for some of that coordination. Now, couple that into the fact that they're going to be playing a relatively, for them, unknown map. You really do start to worry and ask some questions as to how that's going to go. I guess the advantage that they've got going into this one is that this is a pretty unknown map for Santos as well. We've not really seen either team play it all too much.
Yeah, we haven't. You mentioned for a second there about having a player who is extremely powerful. It was Mav, who has now moved on to W7M. He's had some really big individual performances. Gio, do you think that maybe those individual performances could cause problems for Santos if they continue that slow play style? Because it feels to me like in the past when Santos have left it really late on the executes, the reason they've lost a lot of the time is one player finding 2 or 3 kills.
I mean, maybe. W7M, yeah, we can't deny the fact that players like Mav, GDN, Hertz when he's not nading himself, can have some really good individual plays, but I don't think personally that that's what it's going to do for W7M today. And this is something that I do want to touch on a lot more once we actually get into the game, but what W7M did really well against Team Liquid was being able to get in with really sneaky plays. You know, they struggled on their attacks when there was a lot of resistance being put up by Team Liquid, but W7M were quite good at scouting out the areas of the map that weren't being watched by defenders and exploiting that. Now, this map that we're going to, that I don't think we've done the map veto for, but is a big map, okay? So I think that this is the sort of map that that you guys will find out very shortly what map it's going to be, and I didn't think of that in my head, so I'm so sorry.
I'm pretty sure we did
Oh,
the
wait, we
veto,
did
right?
it?
Before we went to the video.
We're going to Chalet.
Yeah, we're going Chalet. For anyone who missed it, like Gio, evidently,
Okay,
we're going
I
Chalet.
have really bad memory problems,
got-
but I
right.
did not realize it was that bad. I did not realize it was that bad. Anyway, the point, okay, so we're going to a really big map. I think that Chalet is absolutely the sort of map where W7M will be able to get away with this kind of thing because there is so much space that has to be watched by defenders. And Santos on Coastline yesterday struggled to control all of the space as defenders as it was. Now, Coastline is not a big map. That is not, of all the maps in our map pool, the hardest one to control the space of. So when you match together the weaknesses and the strengths that both these two teams have exhibited in their games on yesterday's Playday, I actually think the W7M will be able to feed into that and exploit very much those problems that Santos have had and capitalize on them.
Well, we're going to find out soon enough because the game is now underway. If you weren't aware, we are going to be heading over to that map. Let's take it away. Ollie, Gio, off you go.
We are going to be going to Chalet. We did do things in a different order, Gio. I'll give you that. The order was...
I genuinely have no memory of the map veto.
The order was changed.
Did I talk? Oh my god, it was me who did the map veto.
Yeah?
Because I said it was going to be either Oregon or Chalet.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh my god.
We'll get you some help after the show. In the meantime, we've got a game to deal with. We're going to be dealing with Santos versus W7M. Chalet for the second time here tonight. Flores banned out. Zero banned out.
Yeah, I like that.
Hello. Thatcher available. Talk to me.
I need to write these down. I think it's cool, and especially when you think about the kind of attacks that you'll be looking to do on a map like Chalet. I mean, especially I'm thinking of just, you know, your average kitchen attack, for example. That's where I could really see a Zero coming into a huge use. We've seen a Zero be brought on kitchen attacks before by a number of teams because the Argus cams are so useful to actually get eyes down into dining, and typically on a kitchen attack you have to open up office as well as dining, so you've got to watch out for both of those rooms that are directly on top of each other. I mean, you could convert that whole idea and put it on a bar attack as well. It's an interesting one because W7M are starting on attack. So, but that said, Zero is a very specific kind of operator. So I suspect this is more about what they've seen Santos like to use rather than their own thing. So I don't think it will actually hurt W7M that much because from what I can remember, we haven't really seen them use Zero.
When was the last time we saw Zero? Like, honestly, we barely see Zero be played. It's a very niche sort of pocket strat thing. It's so occasional that for it to warrant a ban is quite astounding. But it's obviously a ban that W7M felt was worthy of making. And they're happy to roll with it for the time being. They, of course, start off on attack as well, so they're the first team that see the benefit of a slightly freer attacker-sided map pool. They can make use of other things. Now, they're going to be attacking upstairs to master an office. Are we going to see the same attacker-sided Chalet that we saw with Team 1? Or is this going to be a little bit more of a closely competed for game? I think the latter. I don't think that we're going to see one team really start to roll over the other here. Especially with how much coordination Chalet sort of requires, Gio.
Yeah, and one of the things that I brought up in that last game that we had is the fact that when attacking onto this side, it's become more popular to go from a Solarium side push. It looks like W7M are maybe setting up for something like that, but when we actually consider the way that the defense has been set up for Santos, I think they are also expecting it as well, which is something that Ints didn't do when they were against Team 1. They actually left a lot of that north side quite empty and clear. We did see, you know, an ADS setup with a shotgun on the solar stairs. Hunter is looking over towards... well, I mean, he's downstairs, but he's looking over towards Trophy. So they know that there is going to be this north side presence from the attackers.
Panico trying to challenge on the vertical as well. He's really stretching the bounds there, trying to look through 2 floors. Get an angle onto the bathroom upstairs. Cons is currently full white flashed as he's trying to get pinched out there. Cons is still able to use a couple of Toxic Babe canisters and keep a lock on those Solarium windows. And with how much he's committed to that position, it would make sense for him to not really move too much and just look to play the shotgun on the close window and really have somebody on the side of W7M actually push him out there physically. He's going to aggress on up and find himself too. Cons there playing with his life, and for all that there is that vertical pressure, what is it able to achieve? Panico, he gets the down, but he's got to make a full rotation before he can even move toward the down player. And let's be honest, Solarium stairs, that's probably the least of W7M's concerns at the moment, as they currently sit in a 5 versus 2.
It went the opposite way that they wanted. Panico might be able to pick up a kill here, but Hunter's not making it very easy for him. Oh, it wasn't even Hunter, it was Cons, my bad. Cons isn't making it very easy for him. But, I mean, that whole idea... Oh, it was Hunter! I was right! Alright, never mind, back on track! Guy is now going to be trying to play from below as well, and this is the position that W7M have found themselves in. They set up this very vertical attack that didn't work the way they wanted because they wanted to stun Cons out of position and force him to play, or not play from the solar stairs. That was the opposite of what they wanted. They wanted to force him forwards out of the position where he was protected by the ADS into a position where he could be killed from the window in solar. But what happened was Cons got those 2 shotgun kills and it didn't go the way they wanted. And yes, he got DBNO'd straight after, which you discussed that, while great, it doesn't actually bring that much value. So then what you're left with if you're W7M is everybody's downstairs, because the way that you were trying to set up the upstairs execute failed on you. And it's very hard when you're in a position like Guy was at the end there, where you're looking up through a hatch, there's 25 seconds left, it's just you. What can you do?
That's really what I like to call an on-paper strat. Where on paper, that works perfectly. And it sounds really like it's kind of far out, right? You know, you've got a guy all the way in garage and he's going to be challenging through 2 floors to deal with the player on solar stairs, and then we're going to stun him out and then we're going to double swing in. But what you can't account for is someone just taking the initiative, and Con's going, you know what, I've got the best shotgun in the game for this close range engagement. Bang, bang, 2 kills. Thank you very much. And now all of a sudden, everyone is so spread out from where they really need to be. And even though Panico had the angle, it's borderline irrelevant at that stage. So a tough start there for W7M. Santos played very well into it as well. As soon as they realized that that's where the push was coming from, we could see Cons make that change. We could see players moving into those positions. So already good success there from Santos. W7M, they now have to try the hand at a different site.
Well, down into the basement, which was a site that we commented on earlier about not being particularly popular amongst these teams. Wait, I'm pretty sure it's the basement. Yeah, it is the basement. I was second guessing myself. I had to mute myself to cough. The entire last bit of cast that I did, I was trying so hard not to cough. I had to do it, so I only just saw what site they were going to. It is indeed the basement, but they're going for this roam upstairs, watching out for anyone who may be looking to aggress on those windows. And with the pings coming out, you can tell that Santos know there are some there, but that's not going to stop Panico from getting the opening kill there onto Destiny.
Destiny on the Vigil getting caught out on the roam. It isn't really going to make any headlines. Vigil is going to be trying to challenge there on the roam. I guess when 2 kills go down and neither have been traded. Say again, Rise is in the right position. But as the mute, what is he really going to be able to do? He too gets picked off by W7M. And Santos, they've kind of given themselves up here quite lightly. Now we're seeing Cons aggress up these west main stairs as he tries to pre-fire in toward the player at the top. So he too is going to find himself downed. It's very quickly becoming a game of landslides, and it is currently alternating as to who is in the lead. Hunter, player that's been relatively quiet this stage so far, but player that we know to be one of the better fraggers on the side of Santos in the 1v4. Now he's probably got a bit of intel here. Don't forget, we do still have the Maestro cameras up. There's the default insight as well, which can watch main stairs, but he's going to try and take the challenge onto Panico, and he's been hitting his shots inside of this round. A beautiful angle being held there from Library Stairs. And we flip and we flop. 1 round apiece.
Yeah, Santos really tried to go up against the way that W7M were surrounding themselves around the building, but unfortunately their roams simply couldn't stand up to the angles that were being held from the outside. And I worry that it was a bit of an over-aggression from Santos, especially, well, I don't know, I was going to say especially for a team who aren't necessarily known for being in those situations. A lot of the time I generally consider teams that have looked a little bit weaker probably stronger if they're all staying together. That said, as a team, you're never going to enter into a round with a strategy based on fear of the opponent, and I think that's the right way to go about it as well. So, you know, props for them for trying the roam, but they were moving up to windows very closely. The pings, they had an idea of where W7M were, but W7M at that point were quite comfortable to just sit on the windows and hold the angles required, because Santos were making it clear that they were moving around on the top floor. It was easier for W7M to punish. But we've been to the top floor, we've been to the very bottom floor, now we are in the middle.
Well, 1 round apiece suggests that this is going to be a much closer game than we anticipated, especially with the way that they have been, I mean, not that we anticipated it to be a close game, but especially with the way that the rounds have been going so far, and that they've swung very heavily on one side or another, and it usually relies on that initial engagement. Panico, a player that has been very successful in picking out defenders. But this time we are going to be looking at kitchen defense. So, top floor control is always nice to have. With a Thatcher available, it puts a little bit less emphasis on that top floor clear. Typically, you're going to try and get the top floor to remove any electrification or any denial on the wall between the main lobby and into kitchen. With the Maverick, you can still do a very similar job there in terms of getting yourself on in. It is kind of strange to not see a dedicated hard breach be brought.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, isn't it? You know, no Hibana, no Thermite. I mean, Mav's on the Capitale, which means the smoke that you could get from Thermite is still available, but not the hard breach. Although, actually, is Mav bringing the secondary hard breach? We can't see right now.
No, he's not.
He's not. It's at the top. I always forget you can look at the top. Yeah, none of that. It's also a bit worrying, I think, because if GDN gets taken down before they've had the opportunity to open up the dining wall, it's going to make an attack onto this site so much harder, because you'll have to rely on the choke points in through the doors of either kitchen or dining. It's also interesting as well because you noted the fact that having a Thatcher available makes things a bit easier and less reliance on getting the top floor, but Thatcher's not being brought either. So W7M had that opportunity open to them and they decided not to take it. Panico's trying to hold on to these angles through into Piano. He knows that there's a roamer in there, and you've seen the bulletproof camera be pinged out, so you might have to move around to try and remove that.
Finally, we do see the wall there get opened. Still, there are going to be some mute jammers there that are going to cut down how much information can be gathered here. Mav got himself to a nice point to try and cut this site in half, and he can do so with his utility, his smokes, and his fire arrows. Toxic Babe Canister's coming out. A C4 lands at his feet as Cons. Beautiful C4 toss there. GDN going to attempt to plant, but he too will be taken down. Panico admits the team kill, unfortunately. But in reality, it wasn't going to be that big of a difference. Anyway, Santos, they were able to deny that plant, and you've got to think, W7M, they have made that round exceptionally difficult for themselves.
Oh yeah, it was so much slower than it needed to be. And not bringing two hard breaches certainly plays into that fact. I mean, Maverick, great. We know that W7M are a team who are really going to like playing Maverick anyway. They love their nades. Love their nades on this game, or on this team, rather. Yeah, in this game, they love nades. Other games, not so much. They love their nades. So it's not surprising that they are going for the Maverick, but why not bring another one? You know, why aren't you bringing another hard breach alongside that?
It needs to be a Thatcher, a Thermite, and a Niana. And then you have everything covered. You have the smokes that Capitao was bringing. You have the hard breach that Maverick's bringing. You have the nades that Maverick was bringing on the Iana. And you maybe sacrifice the Nomad or the Buck or something of that nature. Or you bring the Sledge instead. And you switch out the Sledge for the Buck. You've still got the grenades. You bring the Thatcher Thermite combo, which it does make me laugh, Gio, how much we see Thatcher banned. And then when he's not banned, how infrequently he's picked.
Yeah,
it blows my mind.
It does, and part of it comes from the fact that they are used to scrimming without him because of the expectation of him being banned. And because teams have been so used to having Thatcher bans be a mainstay of their games at this point, a lot of teams will have strategies that are absolutely fast enough these days to make up for the fact that there isn't a Thatcher. So even though he could save a lot of time, they have strategies that also save a lot of time because they've had enough time to practice them. But the one that we just saw from W7M wasn't that.
That wasn't it.
That's the problem. Is you can forego a Thatcher. You don't need Thatcher. We've had 2 years at this point with no Thatcher, so you don't need him. But just bringing a Maverick, that's a big question mark from me. You just got no time, because if you've got to think about the fact as well, you have Panico upstairs, he was trying to pressure onto Piano. You haven't gotten a thorough roam clear, so you know that there are going to be players upstairs. What you also know is that there's going to be pressure from the other side of kitchen. If you're choosing to come in through the dining wall, there's going to be pressure from the other side of kitchen because the surviving defenders are likely to be over there. So you have to get into dining early because you need to be able to apply pressure onto the site. And having just the Maverick doesn't ensure that dining is getting open early, because even if you get office open really early, you still can't open dining before office has been done. And even then, if you were to lose your Maverick, or if you were to lose your Zephyr, actually in that case it was opened up by a buck after he did the Maverick trick. But if you were to lose your soft breach and / or your Maverick, the entire strategy is down the drain. So for me, it was another one.
We've got a clip just to understand how and why we got ourselves to a technical pause. Probably one of the more comical ones. I think we maybe see Mav just do something to his desk there. Yeah, that's it. There it is.
Did he like pull out a wire or something?
I think we can maybe relate. The C4 landing at his feet as he's trying to deploy crucial utility. And just hits the desk with a bit of a hammer fist there. But we are back into the action now. Round number 4 underway. Back upstairs, into the master bedroom and office. And for all intents and purposes, a much closer game.
They actually flirted with the idea of going to bar, decided against it. Which it's very rare to see a team have a full cycle that doesn't involve bar, but let's go Santos. They're pioneers of their field. Santos did successfully defend Master, and a lot of that came down to the very peculiar style of attack that W7M went for. It was very downstairs focused. They wanted to shift Cons off of his position on the solar stairs, force him into the line of sight that was being taken at the solar window, but it kind of backfired. Cons got 2 kills. You didn't clear solar whatsoever. You've lost a bunch of men. And now the people who are still alive are stuck downstairs. So I would like to see a change in approach from W7M. It's not that I really don't like the way they went about it before. It just didn't work. It was creative.
It was creative, but it felt complicated for the sake of being complicated. And I think it goes back to our sort of Thatcher argument in the previous round, where it's like, just make it as easy as you can for yourself, because the game's hard enough anyway, without making it any harder when it doesn't really need to be. So maybe they're going to go for a slightly different approach this time. Although we do see Panico
It looks the same.
in his trademark location, trying to find out that player in the bathroom. I mean, it does cut off the rotation. And as a player on the side of Santos now, you're going to be thinking, I can't really rotate through bathroom. But then, why would you want to? There's somebody on the Solarium repel it. A little bit of a death sentence to get yourself through there.
I think it's hard as well because when they're looking to clear out certain members, they've only brought 2 nades and they have 6 flashes, which is enough to clear out the ADS they need. Good, well-timed shot taken from Rise, though, to delete Herds. That was well done, but they're going to still see one of these players through the wall, but the wall bang not timed well enough to actually be able to punish anybody. Now, W7M have the area clear that they were going for the last time. They've just got to figure out what the next move is. Oh, it's exciting because they didn't get this far before.
Get into uncharted territory. Mav is going to be searching out for a player in bar. Has the back storage to move through, but isn't going to be inside of the ADS.
I hate it. I hate it when you hear them make so much noise and you know they're going to be heard.
That's it. You can see the engagement happening and you're like, oh, he's just sprinting through it.
Yeah.
STK just hitting the crouch walk, maybe hitting the slow walk as well.
Oh, dear. W7M. They're lacking now that crucial operator that would be able to clear out so much of this space in the form of the Capitão. Look, 10 seconds left, Ollie. There's no time. Guy's still on the window trying to take shots. Panico's not going to be part of it because Cons removes him. Oh, Cons. He found his way to get a 2K regardless of what was happening. It might not have been on the solar stairs this time, but it came in when it was required. W7M simply could not find their way into the building.
Again, W7M really sort of struggling in that sort of teamwork and all moving and pulling in the same direction scenario. A lot of 1v1s going down there. A couple of multi-kills really coming in on the side of Santos as well as players stacked up. Santos starting to edge a little bit of a lead here on Chalet. Now, this is going to be downstairs in the garage again. Again, we are seeing, and it can only be described at this point, Gio, as a stubbornness from W7M to not bring an actual hard breach. You know, Maverick is a hard breach, recognized, but he isn't really...
He's like a secondary hard breach.
An effective hard breach, is he? He's a second choice hard breach. He's like second entry. So, you don't want to be... You know, this is kind of like when you want some food and you're out and about and it's like you've got food at home. Like Maverick at home is like the hard breach, whereas like Thermite's the one in the shop that like looks all shiny.
It's like when you talk about who plays hard support, quite often when Maverick's being played, it's not your hard support who's playing Maverick.
No, it's Fleck.
Because you only ever really bring Maverick if you're bringing another hard support as well. So. But, you know, and the thing is, W7M, they don't have the excuse this time of not expecting to be going to this site because they know where Santos has been going. So clearly it's a stylistic thing that they prefer. I mean, yeah, the problem that we had when it was Ints and Team 1 is I don't think Ints were expecting it, and they ended up just bringing a Thermite. Which, when you consider all of the things that you want to be opening up...
And even at the time, then, you were like, oh, they've only brought a Thermite and they've got, like, so much stuff. You know, now you think
there's
just
so many walls. There's a lot. There's a lot. And, I mean, look, W7M, they won back in round 2. It's the only round that they've won so far was attacking onto this site. But the thing is a lot of it were because Santos invested so much into a very deep upstairs roam that kind of came back to bite them because they were getting very aggressive on windows when they didn't really need to. Now, the fact that they have, you know, the Valkyrie, the Mute, the Vigil, like, it suggests they are still roaming, and we can see some of those silhouettes out and about. But there's not so much posturing on these windows that we saw before. And in fact, W7M also aren't placing themselves at the windows in the same way that they did in round 2.
Destiny's managed to survive a good deal of time in this round. As you say, he's not been picked off as Santos seem to be playing this one a little bit closer to their chest. Destiny is going to drop off in from the library downstairs, though, as Herds is in hot pursuit. There's going to be a player in small, though, STK. Chance at a bit of a swing here, as I don't think he has been accounted for, and you can see with the way the silhouette's pointing, Herds has no idea. It's going to be an easy shot into the back. Pre-fires all the way. Doesn't want to take any chances with that one. Look at this for a collapse. Destiny, he picks up 2. Nobody was anticipating him there. Santos have swarmed and pulled off. Beautiful couple of kills there. GDN last alive along with Gigi. Going to be pushing down these main stairs directly into the line of sight of Destiny, but he will be taken down. Location now known. It isn't going to be easy for him from here. But the players are just going to challenge one at a time, and Rise gives himself up for free. Now all of a sudden, it's a 2 versus 2, and it's very doable here for W7M. Cons hits the big shots when it counts, takes down GDN, puts it into a 1 versus 1. Hunter, he doesn't have a lot of health to deal with. There's 14 seconds left. He's running outside. He doesn't have a C4. The flash is hit. He's got the goo mine in his foot. He goes for the swing. He finds it. It was an ace by Gee inside of that round.
Dude, I always point it out, but I love it when you see a flash used for its intended purpose. Yeah. It actually flashed out the Valkyrie. Amazing, unprecedented scenes. Guy just getting very aggressive in that round, and very similarly to what we had in round 2, W7M didn't have any issues with pushing down into the basement. It was almost entirely the opposite of what we saw on their master attack, where they just looked far too timid to even enter the building at all. So, great round for W7M. They can finally put another one on the board. And when we look at round number 3, this This is where Santos were considering going to bar. They ended up going to kitchen instead, but this time they are actually going to bar. Now, given that this is a very upstairs-centric attack, that seems to be what stumped W7M thus far. I'm wondering if it's going to happen again.
It is worth bringing to everyone's attention that that previous round was a 4 versus 2. And the 4 being on the side of Santos. So, a very impressive round for W7M to come away with. A lot of questions to be asked on the side of Santos as to how it got that bad and why there were so many singular challenges. But there are questions for another time, as Santos have another site to focus on defending here. Still chance here for W7M to equal this one out, Gio, and it kind of is becoming that close game that we were anticipating, where it's kind of down to big performances from individual players to see where these rounds ultimately fall.
Yeah, and I don't like that. I don't like it when you have to rely on individual players. It's not that these teams, I think, are trying to play individually. I don't think they are. I think they're absolutely trying to play as a team, and we do see great moments where the coordination of them shines. But in a lot of this game so far, especially when you look at the side of W7M, where they've succeeded, it has come more down to those individual plays. And I think that's partly why they've been struggling to put more rounds on the board than they currently have. Now, they're going in for this kind of clear through the first floor. I think he's part of that as well. This is very interesting because it's kind of similar to what we saw from Team 1 in our last game, where on a bar attack, they decided to go in from the first floor too, rather than this kind of stringent piano side push, as you see GDN being droned in for, but not really much of a defense being extended that far through the map.
Drone work going to be taking place now as Solarium is being intended for, and Herds has already got himself into Master, so you would hope that that's all cleared too. Herds just trying to hold the angle out there onto the fireplace. Still quite a slow approach here from W7M. They've got weird and wonderful lines of sight and rotation holes open, but can try and stun out the player and be able to remove that deployable shield at the top of Library Stairs, the sort of real linchpin of this entire site, a very powerful area that defenders will look to try and keep hold of for a long time. Not somewhere that we've seen a lot of attacking teams tonight actually try and deal with. Like Team 1 when they played this map, and they were more than happy to sort of really go anywhere near this side of a push because it can be so well defended from Library. Especially now because W7M don't have any presence in Library. They're really having to take these firefights. Hertz, fortunately for him, is going to win it though. Wins the gunfight against Destiny. Now GDN can look to push on through. There are only 20 seconds left remaining, so not a lot of time here really to try and drop and start thinking about the plan, especially with how low a couple of the players are. GDN gets himself down map. Gonna look to try and nade out the player inside of back bar. The nade does land, but it isn't successful. Panico is able to finish off Rise. Still, Hunter from back storage can play a huge part in this entire round.
Oh no!
The part is going to be played by the Pogmat. Manages to pick himself up a kill with the Frostmat. SCK grabbing another as well. Running out of time there for W7M. Santos 4-2 split.
Oh, that's so unfortunate if you're W7M. I actually think, you know, one of the issues that I took with that is, yes, Herds got the kill onto one of the players who was in Library, and that immediately cued the other to drop down the hatch, but there was no dedicated Library push coming out from W7M, and I think if they had done that, they probably would have found that attack to go a bit faster and maybe have a more advantaged position when they got to the point of actually wanting to execute onto the site. I understand the route through which they wanted to actually clear the map and take that kind of control, but there wasn't even anybody over on the Library window trying to poke any kind of pressure onto Santos. So I wonder if maybe that had a significant influence on the outcome of that round. I think it certainly had some, but of course, it was all down to Pogmat, really. And mean, that's just the way it goes sometimes. W7M finding themselves on the worse side of an attacking half, which isn't something that we see all that often. Now they're going to be switching over to their defense, opting to go down to bar for their first round. Now they're going to have a pog mat of their own.
I do love a good pog mat. Winner of many a round, especially when the time's running as short as that. You just can't be looking for them at that sort of stage, and it's with the secondary shotgun, it's a great option to bring because you get the shield, you get the secondary shotgun. 9mm is a great weapon.
Here's the thing, though. So you know everybody references that graph that's kind of like a parabola, and it's like, ooh, Destiny. Oh, I doesn't actually quite get it. Oh my god. Okay, Mav just shoots back around the corner. Sure, Destiny's down. No, I was gonna say, so the graph is like a parabola, and it's the players that get the most deaths with pog mats is either really low level players or really high level players. And the argument is that when it affects high level players a ton, it's because they're not used to it and they don't expect it. But given how popular Frost has become of late, you know, she brings along that shield. She has really good utility. You mentioned the 9mm is a great gun. You'd think at this point, they should start expecting them.
It's one of those, though. You're going to know it's there, but what can you really do about it when there's 2 seconds left? I think that's the... But yeah, obviously not. Like, and I think it punishes the teams that don't do that due diligence in terms of droning as well, and it punishes the teams that execute late. That's really where you start to see it be successful, and it's kind of just brought us. I think it's really one of those that you just bring it for the shield and the secondary shotgun, especially when you've got a lot of setup to do and you don't want so much pressure on your smoke. So we'll see if Pogmat manages to gain it down or at least kill inside of this round. But already, Destiny has fallen. He just seems to be finding himself on the losing end of a lot of trades so far today. Hertz is going to find the frag over onto Cons, and I mean, the nade comes through from Hunter a little bit late. That's again just an example of Santos just not quite working in sync. A couple seconds either way, and that kill goes through as just a clean frag grenade, and they've not lost another man. Mav, his second kill inside of this round with a nade over onto Hunter. STK, he's getting chunked down upstairs. Rise left as the last alive, as is usually the case. Isn't a 1 versus 4 here. 3 of the players are relatively low, but how much intel is he really working off here? He's looking to just slow walk and see if there's anyone exposing themselves in the bar. Any chance of freebie, but though he's going to be the freebie. Pushes in, finds an exit frag to pad his stats, and then is immediately traded.
I mean, it seemed like Santos' attack just collapsed very easily there. There was not that much structure to it. Or at least what ended up happening, there wasn't much structure to. The fact that Rise was just... I mean, the only option he had at the end was to try and go in through from Fireplace, which is not the typical way that you see an attack be done onto that site. W7M did try it on a previous round. But, you know, we are so used to seeing very well coordinated and clinically executed attacks onto that site. That is the typical primary site. And, you know, when you're looking at a primary site, that's where you often expect the most practice in the way that you execute them. And there is a general understood idea of the kind of correct way, in inverted commas, to do it. Santos just didn't seem to touch on any of that. They're going to have to attack here onto the upstairs on this next round. This is obviously the, or one of the sites that W7M really struggled to attack onto when they were on the attack, because they just couldn't push into the building whatsoever. We'll see if Santos can do any better. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they're not going to go in for a solo attack, purely when you look at the fact that they're bringing a thermite along. If you're thinking of a wall that is going to be opened, you're going to be thinking of the office wall, which is on the other side of the site. So maybe they'll put some pressure on from the north side, but I wouldn't be too surprised if the main bulk of this attack is not from there.
Yeah, typically you would use an Ace or a Hibana if you were going to push from the Solarium side. So, we'll see. Cons is currently over this side of the map, though, so it might be a case that they've brought the Thermite to do the job and they're just looking to make use of the smokes, but...
Maybe he's just brave.
Maybe. Maybe this is the new, like, let's not take static strat that we saw in Oregon for so long.
I mean, I always do like to see a change up in the typical way of attacking onto anyone's site. It's nice to see that alter over time. Now, there is the soft wall that's looking straight out onto the solar window, so the lines of sight can be held. And a lot of time, you might see a smoke playing behind there. I don't entirely know where GDN is right now, but that is a nice little smoke spot. Play in the, what was it, like the closet?
Yeah. Pressure is still not there yet on the big window. Destiny's going to set up for the repel and get the Claymore out just as a little bit of security here. Santos are very tentatively looking to move here. DK is trying to drone out the player and maybe get somebody into a position to pre-fire on through it. Potentially, oh, no, it couldn't have been Herds there. Did see him throw something, so Herds is anyway going to find himself down. This Toxic Babe gas is going to be run through. Hunter aggresses on in. He's looking to now convert onto Herds. The nade comes out, and it is going to be successful. Gives the advantage for the time. Pre-fires over onto Guy. Very wish he had that grenade now, as he's much more nadeable here, and he's a player that is still active. But Guy's going to give himself away. He turns around, and Hunter is able to shoot him in the back. Panico looking to move in to be a bit of a difference maker here as he holds an angle over onto the window, but the plant is already going down. Mav, he's looking to make a rotation back in as he's been out of the party so far, and he is really a little bit late to it. Tough post plant now to deal with. Panico going to challenge over onto the window, but STK, all he's got to do is stand outside a trophy, picks himself up the frag. Mav picks one. He's got 3 more to find in 25 seconds. Not even going to get the third as Cons. He is going to be able to swing the corner into the bathroom. It was never going to be too long until Mav got challenged in there. It was live, up-to-date information for Santos. It was a much better attacking round from them.
First plant of the game, by the way.
Wild considering the previous Chalet as well.
Yeah, where Team 1 would just plant it within the first, like, 2 seconds of a round. Yeah, I mean, the clearing out GDN, I think, was a really important part there. He was the smoke who was occupying that smoke spot that I spoke about at the start. And when you're there, you have that really central part of the site. And it's very similar to other sites in the game. You know, for example, if you're thinking of bathroom on a gym bedroom defense on Clubhouse, or backstore / washroom on a top floor cafe defense, for example. There are a lot of bathrooms in this game that turn out to be really important because it's the same on Consulate too. So when you have that kind of central point within a site, that really has to be cleared out before you can get major control of it. But GDN got cleared out pretty easily. And then I think at that point, the castle barricades kind of worked against the defending team because it doesn't really matter that you're cutting off overall crossfires that could be held, because if the attackers already have control of the site, they can move in on those last couple of defenders, and the defenders don't really have any hope of trying to hold angles onto them, so you can't really stop a plant. And then we just see Mav getting caught out in the bathroom because the attackers have control. They can come in through both doors. So just small things sometimes that it can come down to. One impactful kill can change the course of a round. And W7M, they were looking like they were getting closer to evening out the scoreline, but that's just shifted one round away from them once again.
Santos in that dangerous spot now as well, where they find themselves very close to the match point. See how they approach this. That previous attacking round was very well executed by them. There was a lot of drone work going on and before anyone was really in any danger and looking to push on through. And we saw that patience start to rear its head again as well. And let's be honest, they've made things really easy for themselves. Cons is bringing the Thermite. Think back to when we saw W7M attacking this site and there was a Maverick at play that was really starting to slow everything down. Whereas Cons here, he's been able to get top wall open into master bedroom. Sure, there's going to be a mute jammer on the wall into the kitchen, but that's going to be dealt with pretty swiftly with that vertical control. Maybe even a nade coming through from STK there as we see it just going through the top of the reinforcement, and bang, the wall's open.
Look how fast that was. Insane. And that is so much control that can be taken from Santos really early as well. They can hold these direct lines through the top floor, through into the site itself. It puts a lot of pressure on the defenders. Rise is downstairs just seeking out any of the roamers there may be, and Panico is going to be the victim to that. Hunter taken down in return. Hurts, wow, down to 1 HP before finally STK gets the kill, holding on to the big window. 4 versus 3. 3 versus 3. These roamers still up here. Guy has not returned down to the site just yet. He knows that there's still that player on the big window.
This is where you got to be worried about a plank going down, because there's 25 seconds or so left. This is where the Toxic Babe canisters are going to start to be used. Mav is in position to effect onto the side, but we do still have upstairs. The plant now starting to go down. Mav looking to push in through the smoke. Is he going to be able to find the engagement? He's essentially going to run right into Rise. The plant hasn't gone down. 7 seconds left. Cons, he's got to take this as a gunfight, but the super shorty from close range. Mav is going to be able to get the job done there. STK was just a little bit too far out of the action. A round that really came down to the wire there, going in W7M's favor.
That is so frustrating because Cons could have started planting and just set up an overwatch from it, because at that point, if you're W7M, you would have had to aggress onto him. But he didn't do that. He went back through the rotate to try and get the kill onto Mav himself. He got gunned down. And you lose the diffuser. You got like 5 seconds left. At least if you would have started planting, you probably would have had a better chance of getting the diffuser down and forcing it into a post plant, because you would have had the protection from your teammate. That is monumentally frustrating if you were Santos, because that round was absolutely in your hands.
Again, it just comes down to a couple of little small timing issues. And Destiny getting himself caught out again. Player that we've kind of highlighted a little bit. And it's not that he's dying more than the rest of his team, you know. He's died the same amount of times as Hunter and Rise. There's no real criticism onto him. It just seems like the engagements that he's losing are really crucial ones. And it's not a fault of his own. He's just he finds himself in that really important position. It goes one or two ways. In that round in particular, he got himself caught short. But a change of site is in order here for W7M again, as they were successful previously. They're going to go downstairs to kitchen, to bar and gaming. They've just been inside a kitchen. Now, this was where we've seen Santos go for that very orthodox clear, in through Solarium, in through master bedroom and office, and look to try and aggress on that way. But with the lack, maybe, of any pressure coming in from the library balcony, and if that's something that they could add in, I think it'd just give them that little extra dimension. And these are the engagements that I'm on about with Destiny. He goes in as like that sole entry. He's already downstairs. He's trying to see if there's any roamers looking to use the basement for a rotation or just to lurk there for a little bit. And it always is a big point of contention because it never gets refragged.
Yeah, Santos' attack onto Bar back in round 7 was a bit of a mess. So I would like to see it look less so in this round. And especially if Destiny can actually get value out of the opening engagement, assuming that he gets involved in the opening engagement, that would be nice. It wouldn't shock me if there's a kill about to come in here because a window was being watched by a defender. But I guess not going to get too aggressive. So for now, everybody remains alive. I would like to see Santos put pressure onto Library. That's absolutely certain. They're spending a lot of time, you know, droning, holding angles, setting up air jabs, doing all that good stuff for now.
bit more aggressive here from Destiny, considering how we've seen him play previously. He's actually got himself into the main body of the push now. Taking a little bit of damage there, but on the Zephyr he can do quite a lot to deal with the laser gates and any shields that there are going to be. Manages to burn the ADS there that's going to be protecting the shield that's being played on the fireplace. Panico has moved on up now, and what about that for some siege timing? Straight into STK's nade. It seemed as though as soon as he stopped running, the nade turned red, and it was all just a little bit too late. Mav will find one back as a trade along with Guy. Mav providing a bit of impact from those main stairs going down in toward library. Herd still prone inside of the library, finds himself too. Almost unforgivable here from Santos. They've surrendered the diffuser, and you just know that Herds is going to be prone. Watching it now, looking to try and take another engagement before eventually being shut down. Now Rise can pick the diffuser up here, but he's only got 25 seconds left. He's still in a 1 versus 2, and there is still a player laid prone inside of the library. No pressure on those library windows from Santos essentially has cost them that round.
That's just, yeah, it's annoying. It's frustrating because this is the first time that actually the rounds have been evened out. A 5 versus 5 or 5-2-5 at this point. Will be a 5 versus 5 at the start of the round. We'll see how long that lasts for. But 5-5 at this point, and for the most part, I mean, Santos. There have been a lot of rounds where Santos have looked better than W7M, but not putting pressure onto Library is a huge oversight, in my opinion. I don't know. I guess we'll see, because Santos also, to all intents and purposes, deserved round 9. And it was just a judgment lapse at the very end of the round, gave it to W7M. Now, of course, because W7M won that round, the argument should be that they deserved it, right? Like any team who wins a round, they earned it, they deserved it. But it was very close for Santos, and it could very easily have gone their way, because for the rest of the round, they'd actually set up their attack pretty well. They were using their time pretty well, which even when we compare to Santos at the beginning of this stage, where our biggest criticism was the slowness of their attacks, that's huge. That's a great improvement. And it's like, you see the W7M have caught up, and it's like, I kind of feel like it shouldn't have happened.
It does feel like a messy game, and a game that Santos could have closed out a couple of rounds ago, but W7M are just hanging in there by the skin of their teeth. But this is the kind of team that we know them to be, right? It's not always pretty, but they've got the job done previously. They got the job done against MIBR, and you know, that really wasn't a pretty game, but a win is a win, and that's how it is remembered. Santos a chance to take this one to a match point, but you do start to wonder if anybody is going to get out of this with a full 3 points, or if we're going to be taken into an overtime, which is appearing a bit more likely at this point. All depends on how the next 2 minutes go as to which team is going to be given that advantage first, and to be given the chance at taking it at a full 3 points. Santos, they've had some reasonable rounds so far, and well, they've gone off to a really good start here. Rise has managed to find a kill over onto Mav. Again, it's this opening engagement that rarely gets traded, and whoever gets it gives themselves a massive swing.
He is very paranoid about this window. There doesn't seem to be really strict engagement right now. Santos are looking to open up the office wall, and Herds knows it. The immediate drop down means that the presence isn't actually on the top floor anymore. Still, Herds will be looking to play quite carefully as a result of that line of sight potentially being challenged.
We're going to see Panico dropping off there and finds the kill over onto Rise. He's going to be 1 health as he gets away with his life. The wall has now been opened. It is going to allow Panico that full rotation, and he still has a C4 which he can use now as we enter the final 40 seconds or so. SDK Still making a little bit of progress in downstairs as well. Santos this time haven't gone for that Solarium side push and instead have opted for the slightly more old-fashioned push in through master bedroom. Panico still below with that C4 has got to be quite a big threat here. Not a great deal of time left, and I mean, if he had a better gun here, he'd be in a much better position. But instead, he's going to get shut down by STK, who's anticipating that player to come through. The Toxic Babe canister gas isn't going to do the job, but the SMG-11 will. 3 seconds left. Destiny forced to sprint on through and try and get this plant down. Now, the gas has dissipated to a point where he can keep himself alive, but look at where STK is. He's all the way back on those main stairs, trying to provide that covering fire, but he daren't move forward. Now, the last player alive. It is much more doable from this point. How can you see him, Destiny? It's a second chance at life there as Guy looks at him in plain sight, albeit it looks a bit different from Destiny's POV, but a player that I said and mentioned has struggled throughout the course of this game has just pulled up in a huge way for Santos. Destiny, a plant and a kill there to take them onto a match point.
Yeah, I mean, it's really good that he acted immediately once the diffuser went down because there were only, 3 seconds left? There was Toxic Babe everywhere. Straight in for the plant in a well-protected area as well, given that Guy's position was over on the north side of the map. And finally, as you say, Santos have put themselves on match point. So they're nearly there. Attacking onto Kitchen is the plan for the next round. Now, W7M did win their last Kitchen defense, but it really was that round where it was like, should they have? So it's not the kind of victory that you look at going, yeah, they're so good at this site. Because actually, for the most part, Santos played it much better. And I suspect that they're going to go for something similar this time. You know, they brought the Thermite back. They've got the Yana still. So the removal of the denial should be easier. Though actually, there isn't even a mute that's going to be played. So there's no denial to worry about. No denial to remove off of those walls. Which means getting them open could be much quicker.
It's a bit strange, isn't it, Gio?
Well, yeah, I was wondering if maybe they would bring some different kind of denial or what.
The really strange thing is that it wouldn't be too unusual to see the mute be brought, and they haven't actually got a C4 anywhere. Now, a defender lineup that doesn't bring a C4 is a little bit of an oddity at this stage in the game. You know, we sometimes meme and make jokes about teams that will bring like 4 C4s. So they've really not sort of paid much respect to that denial. Sure, we got the Toxic Babe canisters, but really no mute.
It is, yeah, peculiar. I mean, I look at it and I'm like, well, I hope that you can use the Evil Eyes, I guess, to at least gain information, act on that. I don't really see the Aruni gates being a huge issue. You got 3 flashes, but if you need them, you can use the smokes or the nades or
Zephyr,
lifelines. Yeah, like,
Gemini,
the Gemini. I mean, literally, like, there's so much that you can use to go against the Surya gates. I'm just kind of like, I guess we'll wait and see.
Well, it really is one of those games, isn't it? Because it hasn't followed a particular pattern. It's been a very scrappy game from both sides, and there's not really been a great deal of adaptation. It's been a lot of the same stuff coming out from either side, and it really has come down to, 1, how that opening engagement has gone, and 2, how many, you know, big individual standouts we can see. And we've seen, you know, 1 in nearly every single round floating on either side so far. So Santos appearing to be taking this round a little bit slower and a little bit more considered, as this is the last chance to come away with a full 3 points here. But it's curious to not see them invest a little bit more quickly into that top floor, because that vertical pressure is so crucial. Especially in that there are still players upstairs to try and deal with that are going to be holding vertical angles down. Rise could find himself in a position to cut off here, but it's going to be STK that gets himself up. Rise instead just watching for the run out right now. STK is just trying to gather that information, but time still ticking on down. going to have to be a smoke plant here from Cons to really have any sort of guarantee, but the Toxic Babe canisters are going to come through as they aren't being challenged too heavily. Hunter would find himself a bit of a engagement there, but he's just going to miss out on his chance. Another Toxic Babe canister gas coming through. Only 14 seconds. Cons, he has to push through the gas. He's trying to get the plant down, but he's going to get downed in the process. W7M, they're going to come out with a ton of kills inside of this one. It's all down to Rise, and what can he do? He's on the wrong side of the site. Flank from upstairs. The players that weren't dealt with. The vertical control that was never gained. All enough to take this one into an OT.
I guess that's the thing. You know, last time, Santos getting the wall opened as fast as they did really facilitated the push that they made. But this time, that simply wasn't the case. They got the wall open very well. And because W7M hadn't brought in any denial, they knew that that was going to happen. But they also put themselves in positions that Santos didn't challenge before and probably weren't going to challenge again. And there you go. That's exactly what happened, right? You know, they were all back towards Trophy, kitchen, not really in dining at all. If you know that the attackers are setting up that one route of ingress into the site, i.e. the dining wall, you can invest all of your, Toxic Babe canisters, for example, into that one space because you don't need to worry about any other direction. No vertical control being held. It's a problem that Santos have had historically, but have really improved upon this stage. But that round was a good example of them once again falling back into the poor habits of neglecting. Oh, just such a shame. So overtime, as you say, and I guess this, it makes up for the fact that our first game was very quick. We've had two very different chalets today, Ollie.
We've seen a chalet we've seen a quick chalet, and then we got to see a little bit more chalet. Has it equaled out to just be like 2 normal games of chalet? Maybe that's where we stand with it. Or maybe I'm just losing my mind because we've seen so much chalet.
It's only been 2. We were saying at the beginning of today as well, the fact that it was nice that we've had such a variety of maps. We have 2 chalets in a row. We're already sick of it.
Yeah, we cursed that, honestly. I shouldn't have said anything. I'll take that one. I'll take that L, but we'll see who's going to take the L here. Neither team being able to close this one out in regulation, and it means that we got to take it into an overtime already. Very aggressive round here. Santos struggling at the hands of not only the Clash, but GDN in particular. Rise, well, he is going to be the last player alive again. How many times do I have to say those words? He's always last alive on the side of Santos. I get that he watches the flank. I get that he plays the Nomad, but everything has just happened far too quickly there, and he hasn't been able to get involved. He has got a ping as the player in back storage, but I don't know that that's going to be a thing, right? Pushes on in. Crossfire, Clash. What more is there to say about this round other than Santos just tried to speedrun at any percent, and they fell at every hurdle.
They fell at every single percent.
All of the percents.
Prague, decisive. Overtime. Match point. Prorogation. Prorogation, or however it's pronounced. The Portuguese for overtime, apparently. Anyway, kitchen. Now that the sides have swapped, Santos are going to be back on the defensio. They started this game out on defense and did pretty well on it. It was a 4-2 split at the half. So the fact that this has been a defender-sided map, you would assume that it's going to be max OT, likely, that we'll go to. We didn't see them use mirror actually earlier on. They're going to have a lot of sight setup available to them here because they've got 3 shotguns. But actually, we have no proof right now that Destiny is not bringing a shotgun.
That's true. Destiny could be rocking the shotgun. Aruni could be bringing the DMR.
True. Well, she's got her punchy hand.
Yeah.
So there's that. So Destiny, if you're not bringing a shotgun, you're letting the squad down.
I'm just waiting with bated breath. I'm just staring at the bottom left of the screen just to see that pistol change into the DMR. But whilst that is happening, and whilst STK is benefiting from that slightly increased run speed that you get with the pistol out. We shall see. Oh, he's gone for the P10 Roni. So boring, man. I was hoping for the DMR, but alas.
What? Look at that. Carbine? Who plays Carbine on Jaeger these days?
Yeah. See, it's a scam. Santos actually want to win. It's that's demonstrated there in the guns that they're bringing into this round. We will see how this game is going to unfold now, whether we're going to be going to max OT or not. All 3 points for either one of these sides would have been a really big win here. But that isn't going to be available here. Now, Guy, I'm pretty sure that somebody is inside of the library, but maybe I have got the silhouette wrong. I thought someone was in the corner of the library, but I must have been mistaken for a time.
If they were, that would have been the ultimate trigger discipline.
We've seen some trigger discipline this stage so far, Gio, haven't we? But that would have been a new level.
Yeah, quite possibly. Oh, well. Whatever. I guess not. There are people, however, in office a little bit further back from that as well. So, you know, much more solid upstairs defense. Of course, this is a kitchen site. And Santos are looking to hold it very strongly from the upstairs. This is really aggressive positioning. And I think Panico actually just saw that player. STK backing off very slightly and looking to make the rotation out of office. And, you know, they've got to get rid of the shield anyway. There's some utility present in office that's going to be dealt with by W7M. But for now, I mean, we're past the halfway mark and Santos still haven't recalled their defenders. So I suspect there's going to be quite long-standing presence upstairs before they decide to shift down into the site itself.
Back into that sort of slow attacking Maverick only meta, but this time with the addition of the Hibana. Herds has made the change and it has done something to speed up at least the progress in which the wall gets open, but still a slow progress round so far from W7M. They're not going to be able to find a good couple of downs here though. Herds is able to convert onto one. Mav does get taken on down. The diffuser's still in the hands of GDN as he nades through, waiting for the gas to dissipate before pushing on in. Panico looking to try and hold that cross, but really no players cross. It's usually throwables that get passed on through. A C4 going to narrowly miss there onto GDN, but the gun won't. Eventually, he is taken down as Santos still are fighting with all they've got. Hertz is going to get down through the smoke as he tries to recover the diffuser. A 1 versus 1. STK versus Guy. And while STK's all the way downstairs, keeping himself alive.
Because of course it's going to max. Do you remember earlier on when it was 5-3 to Santos, and Santos, all they needed was the 2 rounds and it could have been a 7-3. And now we're here.
Yeah. 4-2 split to a max OT. It doesn't seem right, does it?
No, it doesn't. It's painful. Santos going to be leaning into the shields. They've decided that they want to shove. No, they haven't. Damn it. I was like, hell yeah, something different. They're going for something spicy. I do think it's probably not the best idea to go for a really different attacking strategy. You don't want to risk it all on the last round. Attacking onto kitchen, it was that round. The Santos looked pretty good on their attack on the first time they came here. Then it was way more flawed the second time. And actually, because those flaws were quite conspicuous, my hope is that Santos have recognized them going into this round and they can make the relevant adaptations now. That shouldn't be too bad. If they can ensure that there are vertical angles being held and they can ensure that there is pressure over towards the north side of the site, then they can use that in conjunction with opening up office and dining and should be able to get a pretty successful push. It's just about whether they actually do that. Now, given the fact as well that they've relied on these smoke plants, W7M, in retaliation, have decided they're going to bring a warden. They know that Santos have only really been pushing in from this one direction every single time. So if the only thing working against you as a defender is the fact that you can't see through smokes, bring the guy who can see through smokes.
Also, Warden brings a shield, something that W7M have in plenty supply. Again, I'm going to criticize this, though. No C4 being brought. Especially when so many of these rounds come down to the last few seconds. A C4 could be a pretty big momentum swinger. But we will have to see how W7M deal with that when they get there. Still, we haven't seen GDM place his shield, so be a bit of a late setup on that. Maybe wait for one to be destroyed and then see if you can be in a safe enough position to redeploy said shield. DK, is he going to go for a nade through the drone hole? Maybe an ADS there, but there also may not.
Is that first exothermic charge? Mezzanino. Ancon should be able to just get on with the next one really easily. I'm looking out for the silhouettes over on the other side of the site. You can see a drone, but no people. There's no pressure being done elsewhere. I know that STK is in a position where he could just hop onto the big window. They have been quite wary of potential runouts that could come out from W7M, and it looks like there's is it a full rotate being made? Here we go. This is what we like. So Destiny moving up to the bathroom window as well. They are looking to actually apply this north side pressure. That's good.
Hunter going to find the opener onto Herds, giving the advantage here to Santos. Panico, though, is able to take down the player on Repel. Rise is dealt with there on that trophy window. Time certainly going to be running short as well, as Panico just opens himself up another line of sight here. But Hunter has seen some good success on this top floor. He can now look to try and open up the angles and maybe do something about GDN. He's been the big player inside of all of these kitchen rounds. That pressure that he's able to provide with the Toxic Babe canisters is always a little bit too much. Panico now in a position with Warden and the glasses. Start denying any push that comes through, and it honestly doesn't look like it's coming. Santos are really lax, and they're really sort of lagging behind here. Maybe waiting for all these Toxic Babe canisters to go on, but there's not a lot of time left. There's only 10 seconds. No. Panico picks up a kill along with Mav, gives himself an advantage for a time, but now is left again into a 1 versus 1. All of this comes down to the time, Gio. We were made to wait every single possible second there. W7M, they are going to take Chalet in maximum overtime on time.
Don't get me wrong. I love a good overtime game, but that was the most anticlimactic ending to an overtime game I think I've ever seen in Rainbow Six Siege. You can't let the clock win a round in round 15. Are you kidding me? And I really liked as well that Santos were trying. They were trying to adapt on the mistakes that they made before. They put the pressure where they needed to, but it was so slow. They went back to the very problems that we complained about them at the beginning of stage 2, Ollie, where they just weren't attacking fast enough. They recognized the problem, and then it was like they went into like those movie scenes where time slows down and suddenly like what?
6 months earlier. Chunks, get yourself back in here and save me and Gio, please.
What a way for it to end. It literally came down to a second's difference, it felt like. And I love the fact that W7M, they were smart about it. They had the diffuser down. They just had to wait. Gio, I know that you were a bit critical earlier on of how slow things started going. Earlier on in the stage, I should say, of how slow things were going with Santos. It felt like they started to turn things around in this game. They were coming in really early. They were getting aggressive. But again, in the final round that decided it, they made that mistake. Do you think that was the reason that they ended up losing the overall game? Or was it just... it could have gone either way.
Chunks. The issue started way sooner than overtime. Let's be real. I mean, their defense actually looked pretty good, but as soon as they went onto the attack, it was just like, you know, they weren't like going in for the plant fast enough. I mean, round 8, it was totally fine, and they got the plant down in round 11 as well. But remember, of course, that was the one where Destiny decided to pick back up the diffuser with like 3 seconds left. So that wasn't exactly a clean execute. And I mean, yeah, there was slowness. There was wasting time on parts of the map they didn't need to worry about so much. There was just... It was not clean. It was not hygienic, Siege.
It definitely felt that way at times. It felt scrappy, and I do wonder, Ollie, do you think teams like W7M tend to thrive on that scrappy nature? Because it often feels like when all the mayhem's going on, you have players on W7M that are able to just maybe identify one or two players that are maybe straggling almost off on the side, and they somehow manage to gain a couple rounds off of it.
I mean, I'm not sure if they thrive in those sort of situations, but they regularly find themselves in those situations. So it kind of stands to reason that they'd be able to perform when it comes to it. That was a very scrappy game. We could be sat here saying that Santos win quite easily, especially with, that 4-2 split on the half that they're probably going to be kicking themselves about at the moment. It really does become quite a difficult one to break down, just in that it was very, very messy and there wasn't a lot of clear adaptation going through the rounds.
No, and you know what? I'm sure W7M are going to try and adapt, and I think we can maybe get a little bit of insight onto that one right now. We do have an interview lined up with Panico from W7M, so after a pretty long game, I'm sure you want to make it a quick one, because I'm sure after that one, you're going to be pretty tired.
Man, that was a tough game because our Chalet was prepared for Liquid, not for Santos. We don't know how they play this map. We just try to adapt on the stuff they are doing.
Yeah, it definitely felt like you had a little bit more experience on this map than maybe Santos did. Did you intentionally think about the fact that Santos, they've played on this map, but they haven't recently picked up too many wins? Was that something you took into account, or did this map being picked catch you a little bit off guard?
I was not off guard, but we want to play, I guess, Café, Consulate, but they choose this map. I don't know. It just left there, and we try to play.
One thing that I was wondering is, obviously your team, you've brought in Mav and GDN, and this is a lot of, veteran talent. What are some of the big things that you as a team have been working on together for this stage to build off of what you were doing in stage one?
On stage one, we was a team like all gun, all shooting and running, and now we're trying to mix things and be more tactical, try to do new things and... Oh, cala a boca, porra! Yeah, and that's it. We were trying to play the game, but more tactical.
Panico, I really wanted to ask you, why did you ban Zero? It was something that we were a little bit shocked at the time when we saw the operator bans coming in, because we just don't see him played all too much.
We banned Zero because we got to train with Santos on another maps, and they banned Nomad and use a lot of Zero, and we play better with Nomad.
I mean, Panico, look, that last round, it had everyone on the edge of their seats. It came down to a matter of seconds. When you're on defense, you've only got 2 players left up. There's just a matter of seconds left. How do you hold your nerve in a situation like that? The diffuser's down. It's just about waiting, but as that clock ticks down, you know that team are getting closer and closer to pushing.
On that time, I just think about I killed the Termite and I see the diffuse. So I just don't let the Zofia come and take it. And when I kill her, I knew the sledge was on trophy. So I just don't need to put my face there.
Yeah, I mean, that's a really good way to think about it. Just stay calm, and once you found a kill, you know they're not going to be grabbing it. Play it slow. Panico, thank you so much for joining us, man. I'm sure you want to get some rest after that long game.
Thank you, guys.
Well, that's it. 2 games in the books, but 2 more to go. Next up, we got Black Dragons versus Fury. It's going to be an exciting one, so don't go anywhere. We're going to be back in just a couple minutes.